Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Audrey Marshall, the Work-Based Learning Coordinator for Auburn City Schools. Here today with me is Dr. Amy Brabham, the Workforce Development Director for the City of Auburn. She is here to present to us some information about career opportunities in manufacturing and just in general here in the City of Auburn. We have a plethora of businesses that are in our city, and there's a process for how that happens, and Dr. Brabham is one of those folks in the city that make these things happen, not just for our community, but also for those people that are going to be hitting the future workforce, and that's our students. So we are going to introduce to you and bring to you right now at this point in time, Dr. Amy Brabham. Thank you, Dr. Brabham.
Thank you, Audrey. I appreciate that introduction. And welcome to everyone. I'm excited to have this opportunity today. As Audrey mentioned, I am the Workforce Development Director, and most people say, what in the world is that? So let me take just a moment to explain what that is. We have 46, believe it or not, 46 manufacturing plants in this area, just in the city of Auburn. So our primary responsibility for our Workforce Development Division is to make sure that they have the talent and the work they need. So the beauty of that is to make sure that we know the job opportunities, we know the skill sets that they need, and that is upwards of almost 5,000 job opportunities. So that's what I wanted to talk with you about today. First off, I'm going to share my screen, so let me make sure I can do that. Okay, success. So obviously we know we're here in Auburn, and this presentation mirrors what we do when we recruit a business or industry to our community. And that's important to know is how do we recruit? How in the world do these plants and these manufacturing facilities actually show up in Auburn, Alabama? And it's a pretty interesting process. So I'm going to talk about that, and then we'll talk about the career opportunities in our manufacturers. So everyone knows where we are. We're in Alabama, obviously, and you can see in the shaded orange there on the screen. That is our labor shed. And the reason that we have a labor shed that large is most people are willing to drive between 50 or 60 miles for their employment. So when we are recruiting a company, this is something that we talk a good bit about because our reach stretches from Montgomery all the way to Columbus and upwards toward Atlanta. And Atlanta is a very important spot for Auburn in its relationship to the international airport. And a little bit about our very own community, because this is very interesting. Many of us have lived in this community, maybe our entire lives, maybe you've had a career here for quite a number of years, and you don't really know what your community is made up of. So I want to make sure I share this with you today. So the city of Auburn, just the city limits, is about 65,000. The interesting part is that's without the university. So if we add 30,000 more folks from the university, we are just about 100,000 in population. Our entire Auburn-Opelika, what we call MSA, or Metropolitan Statistical Area, so that's how we're known, is about 165 plus our university students. So that's something we talk a lot about. Our quality of life, you all are very aware of what's around. We have lots of restaurants, beautiful downtown. Auburn University is a big draw for us. It's a Research One institution. So that really helps us recruit these businesses. And to the bottom right of the screen is something I'll talk a little bit about today. So we have what we call 3 technology parks, and that's where our companies are, and 1 industrial park. There are 40 manufacturing operations I mentioned from 23 different foreign countries. Foreign-owned manufacturing, and from 6 different countries. So we're very diverse in the opportunities in jobs and the opportunities to work in our manufacturing facilities. So I mentioned the word recruitment. Most people know that as a sports term, and I would liken it to something very similar. So when we recruit, we are looking for technology-based, value-added operations. So what would help our business and industry grow? How could they make more products? How could they partner with others to do that? And here in Auburn, we've made a strategic decision to look at moderate-sized installations. So many of you are familiar with, let's say, Hyundai in Montgomery. They're an extremely large employer. More than 4,000 people work there. You may be familiar with Mercedes up around Vance and close to Tuscaloosa. They have, believe it or not, almost 8,000 employees. So those are what we call OEMs, or original equipment manufacturers. We are not recruiting very large companies like that. It is difficult to do that, number one, and you have to have a lot of land, a lot of different things that go into that. And that's why I say we look for moderate-sized installations so that we can make a bigger impact quicker. We also have very strong corporate partnerships. So when we recruit a business or industry into our community, we partner with them. And that is where our division comes in very specifically. Once a company locates here and we've recruited them from another location or from Europe, for instance, when they come in, we have to help them find the workforce. So we partner all the time with Auburn High School, with Southern Union State Community College, with Auburn University, with all of our employers to make sure that we have the talent in our area. So many of you, your teachers or others, your parents, talk to you about opportunities and what you want to do when you're finished with school. The beauty of this particular area is there are many, many options. Probably anything you've ever dreamed up, believe it or not, is in this community. You may not know it's there, but it absolutely is. So that's what I really want to focus on today is what is here. So we use our Industrial Development Board, and you might have heard that term before. We recruit through that particular board. And all of these pieces and parts that you see on this screen, we all work together as a system. And what we're trying to do at the end of the day is meet the needs of the business and industry. That may mean that they need to hire 100 new people. And those skill sets might range from information technology to accounting, to machining, to quality. It just depends. It could range with many things, but we all work together to make sure that we can meet the need for those companies. This is another slide that I really like to throw in and make sure that people understand and that they're looking at. Our demographics for our area, as I mentioned, we're about 65,000 without the university students. And you can see on the bottom here, the educational attainment, and then basically how many folks are in different age ranges. It's really important. And before I was in this field of study, I'm not sure that I realized that. So I like to talk about it. It's really important to be aware of what your community looks like. And if somebody else is looking at you, what does that picture look like for them? So we are projected in 2025 to be higher, probably about 72,000. And you've probably heard over time, and certainly we've seen this in the city school system, this community has a track record of growth for many, many years. We are growing at a pace of about 5 to 6% per year, which is tremendous. Most communities cannot say that. So that's very helpful for us in meeting the demands of our business and industry. So this is another picture that many folks may or may not even know. Lots of people get up every day, they go to work, they go to school, they do what they're supposed to do, and they come home and do the things that they're used to doing. But what I'd like for you to do, and I'm going to give everybody a little assignment because it's fun to do this when you have a moment. We have 4 industrial parks. Right here, you'll see these technology and industrial parks. One of those is Auburn Industrial Park. That's where my office is located. and we have what's called an incubator system. And then we have 3 other technology parks that are labeled here on the screen. The orange that you see is university property. Excuse me. What I would love for everybody to do, and your assignment, I guess, a little homework, next time you're out and about and have a few minutes, I would love for you to ride through some of these parks. Ride through and see what types of companies are there. Look at their buildings, look at the way they're situated. Those are all opportunities for folks to work in our local community. And I went to Auburn many, many years ago. And I'll say when I went to Auburn, my general impression was that you come to Auburn to go to school and then you leave to go to work. And that's because I was completely unaware of the great opportunities that were right here in my back door. And we want you to know what those opportunities are as well. So you'll see there are many companies, and the employment level, like I said, we're just shy of 5,000 employees just in manufacturing. So next time you're out and about, make sure that you go through some of these parks and see these companies. And I'm going to talk about a little bit about what they make and what they do. Okay. So let me share one more document with you. One of the things that I do want you to know before we talk about that a little bit, we have some very large industries in our area. I mentioned we don't necessarily try to recruit these that are thousands of employees, but we do have, I'll give you the top 5. The first is SIO2 Material Sciences. You've probably read or heard recently about their contract. They actually got a contract with Moderna to make little vials, and y'all have already heard from SIO2 in one of your career corners. And that particular contract has allowed that company to grow by almost 600 people. So right now they have 784 employees. And just in April of 2020, they had 165. So let's talk about SIO for just a minute. What do they do? In a day-to-day operation, they do some really cool things. They're what we call a pharma corporation. So they deal with pharmacy and biomedical types of things. And many people are interested in that type of work. They actually are extremely automated. Most of everything that they do has an automation component to it, which that translates to they need many engineers. They need an awful lot of quality folks as well. And what in the world does a quality person do? A quality person actually takes something to make sure that it is meeting a specific specification. And in the case of SIO2, it is FDA approved. So they have to use FDA regulations to make sure that what they're producing meets the minimum requirements. So that's a very important fact for them. They also have, of course, HR, accounting, lots of laboratory folks. The interesting part about any pharma corporation, and we have several in our area, is that they have to gown up. And if you have never seen that opportunity, it's very interesting. But basically, it protects the person, and it protects the equipment and the vials and things that are related to what they do every day. So our number 2 largest industry is Briggs and Stratton. Many of you have probably heard of Briggs and Stratton. They've been here a very long time. I believe it's right at 25 years. We might be hitting close to 30, but they've been here a very long time. They have 528 employees, and they make engines of various sorts and types for lawnmowers and for small fishing boats and things like that. So they make lots of different kinds of them, about 17 versions and varieties. This is a very strong machining and manufacturing company. So they do a lot of different processes to make sure that those engines are put together appropriately, along with actually making parts for those. Our third one is Aptar. That's our 3rd largest. They have 365 employees at the moment. Aptar is another pharma-related industry. It's also known as CSP Technologies. So they have a a corporate name of Aptar, but they've been CSP Technologies in this area for a long time. They make what's called desiccant, and if you've ever seen, well, I know you've seen M&M tubes. So tubes of M&Ms have this desiccant material inside. What that does is it protects that particular tube and the candy from getting moisture inside of it. They also do that with diabetic test strips and other medical devices as well. They are also a gowning facility, which basically means you have to put lab coats on, you have to wear face shields or glasses, depending on what you're doing in their process. The fourth fourth largest industry is SCA. They have 347 employees currently, and they actually make automotive parts. So they make all different types of plastic injection molded parts, and they do that through a very automated process as well, which means in their processes, they have to have folks that program robots. They have to have folks that are also quality. They have to have maintenance folks to make sure that all the electrical and all of the machinery is working appropriately to make sure that those parts can be done correctly. And our fifth, and certainly not our last, but in our top 5, we actually have close to a tie, so I'll give those 3 to you. Sohan, GE Aviation, and Rexnord. And the interesting part of all of these, and you'll look at these and wonder, how in the world did we become so diversified? So we have pharma, we have machining manufacturing, we have plastic injection molding, we also have GE Aviation in that top group that makes additive manufacturing parts. So all of those different things were a particular recruitment to make sure that we could bring very, very good talent into our area, and that we could use relationships with our school systems and our educational providers to make sure that we are meeting those needs for those employers, and that there's opportunities for folks in our area, which is what is very important to us. We work very closely, and I'm going to give a little shout out here to Mr. Mike Brogan. We work with him very closely. He's part of our division. He is part of the information that we use to make sure that we're recruiting for the right things, and that he can prepare students for what's out there in the workforce. Because I would say that the primary occupation that we will constantly have to fill, machining and manufacturing, that is the largest population of workforce that we need. And I always have students ask me about, well, how much do you make, and what does that mean? In that particular area, depending on what you do and what your expertise and skill level is, we were having people get hired recently for different manufacturing jobs between $18 and $22 an hour. We have some maintenance jobs right now in some very clean environments that are hiring between $22 and $30 an hour. So if you calculate that for an entire year, you're looking at between $45,000 and $65,000. And those are jobs that require specific skills, and you can gain those skills certainly in the career tech programs and through partnerships with Southern Union and on into Auburn University. So let me share one other document with you as I bring this up. Okay. I'm going to go back to the beginning. So we made this book a little while ago, and this is called Manufacture Auburn. This is the cover of it. I'm going to bring Ms. Marshall some of these so that she can give out to students if they're interested. What we've done is we have taken our manufacturers and put them in a book so that we can know where they're from, what do they make, and the different things that they do. So this is a little explanation about what we do. The investment dollars that have circulated through this community since 1984 is on the bottom here. Well, this is just the last 10 years, but from the entire time, you will see that there's 1.83 billion and over 7,000 jobs. Just in the last 10 years, which has been a very big growth spurt, 86 new and expanding industries with almost 3,000 jobs, and the capital investment of 1.1 billion. So lots of investment, lots of opportunities to work right here in your backyard. And I'm just going to flip through these. These are the buildings that you'll see if you'll go through some of our industrial parks. We've got, as you can see, companies from Italy. We've got different companies. Aptar, the headquarters for Aptar is now here in Auburn. Arcal, you'll see they're from Israel. So we have some really interesting foreign direct investment in our community. We have ATS, which is a very small new company that's making clips. So the clips that hold the different parts of your seat into your car. And if you look in your vehicle today, just take a quick notice of how many different plastic parts and other types of parts that are within your vehicle alone. And many of those parts, believe it or not, depending on the brand of your vehicle, could be made right here in Auburn or in our neighboring communities. We've mentioned Briggs and Stratton today. They're actually headquartered in Milwaukee. Builders First Source, Chic Soul. You might have heard of Chic Soul. It's an e-commerce business, but they also have a warehouse and distribution facility right down the road from our office. C&J, CoachCom. Many of you have seen the headphones that coaches wear on the sidelines, and those are made right here in Auburn at CoachCom. Day One makes parts for Hyundai and Kia. Donaldson is a wonderful place if you're interested in welding, metal forming, those types of things. They make different exhaust and treatment systems and have a lot of need for very expert welding in the area. Donghee is another automotive facility. GE Aviation, we talked about 3D printing. They have, they're aviation related, so they have certainly been through some difficult times, but they have stabilized and are getting back ready for things to open again. These next couple also different automotive initial outfitters you might have heard about before and seen this really nice building out near exit 57. And they actually do personalized jewelry and gifts and monogramming in that facility. So they're a little bit different. Innovative, Intermicron, IPEX, all of these are automotive companies, which, as I mentioned, have just numerous types of employment that are available to everyone in the community, and preparing as students is very important for that. Casey Soltak, Lewa, Leonard Peterson. Leonard Peterson probably made your science lab equipment and the tables that are in your high school. They do this all over the United States and have very large clients. MDT Armor is a really interesting one. They're from Israel. They actually make the armored vehicles. You can see those here in the back. They start out with a truck that looks like this, and they end with an armored vehicle that looks like that on the left. So really interesting military contracts from them. Nashville Wire, Pyeongseong, Roush and Pausch. A little bit about, they're known as RAPA, Roush and Pausch. I believe Tim Beasley probably, if he had probably talked to you all. This is a wonderful company. It's really an engineering company, and they also manufacture in their facility. They're from Germany and have a very large presence over in Germany. Artie Hodges and Revere Plastics. Revere is a brand new company for us. They actually took over a facility about 2 months ago, and they're from Michigan. So they make parts for Briggs and Stratton and other types of three-wheelers, four-wheelers, things like that. Rexnord is a machining company. They're a pretty large group as well. If you go into their facility, it's just wall-to-wall machining equipment to do various things and have lots of different skill sets needed there. They actually have what we would consider an apprenticeship program in their own facility. SCA and Schmidt, also automotive. They are one from Korea and one from Germany. As you can tell, we are doing really well with the Kia and Hyundai bordering both sides of us. We're right in the middle, which helps us to recruit different companies that supply both of those large manufacturers. Sohan, they have 2 facilities and have been here for quite some time. Shinhua is brand new. They do aluminum die casting. They are actually starting to hire folks now. They have just built off of Beehive over in the West Tech Park. So they are going to be using technology that is a 5-axis machine. So if you've ever heard of that, and robotics that are attached to it. So the robots will put the parts in and out of these machines, and the folks that work there will be programming those robots and doing maintenance on them and making sure that things are running very smoothly and efficiently. SiO2 Medical Products, we've talked about them. They have 3 buildings here, and I'll actually be adding 2 more. So they have gone from 1 building and will be 5 buildings in about another year. We have Sedisha, and they're from Portugal. So again, you can see our diversification in foreign direct investment. Stralen Hess and Swigro Additive is a different one for us. Tinabot, this idea of Tinabot grew out of the university. So this is a small company that's here in our facility that are making different things. As I describe it, it's almost a Roomba for tennis balls. So it gathers tennis balls similar to golf balls. Thermo Fisher and Winkelmann. Winkelmann's German. And I'll get down to Wheel Pros here. They're also new for us. They took over the Borbet facility and do casting of wheels. They're aftermarket wheels. So I have a college freshman this year, and when he turned 16, all he could talk about were the fuel wheels, and I think they're called Max wheels. I could be saying that wrong, but Wheel Pros makes those wheels, believe it or not. So now if you get a set of fuel wheels, and his is on a truck, or there's several other versions of customized wheels, they will be made right here in Auburn. And then lastly, YC Manufacturing. They're also machining and automotive type facility. So this is an interesting picture right here. This is a picture of all of our manufacturing companies here in Auburn. As I mentioned before, there's 46 of them. So lots of opportunity there. So let me end to this particular section. And let me stop my sharing right quick. I wanted to talk just quickly about what types of jobs and what types of things that you should be prepared for. And we've mentioned a few, but just know that whatever interests you and whatever job that you've thought about is probably available here in our area, which makes it very helpful for us. And we also put those on our website for workforce development, so you can see those opportunities and skill sets. So students on this call, you're extremely important to us. You're important for our future and the future of our workforce and the ability for our manufacturers to compete. So Ms. Marshall, I'm going to stop right there. I think I might have gone over just a few minutes, but let me know if there are any questions.
No, you did great, and you will see we're masked up. I've got with us joining is Ms. Hannah, our career coach too for Auburn City Schools and also for Opelika City Schools. Of course, you've mentioned the great Mr. Brogan, and Mr. Brogan, you're wonderful. Are here just as quiet as church mice, and they're doing great. But I did want to ask just a couple of questions if I could, and I know you may have a busy schedule. And y'all, this is Mr. Brogan's supervisor from the city of Auburn, Dr. Amy Brabham. Just let you all know that. We thank you so much for being here, and I do thank you for stressing the importance of what Mr. Brogan does, and that's preparing our students here in the manufacturing areas, and then us collaborating with getting them those opportunities. I was really interested in seeing the 5 top companies, and out of those 5, we've had 3 of those that have actually employed Auburn High School work-based learning students. So that is really a testament to how we all work together in tandem to make certain that opportunities are out there for our students and our citizens here in Auburn. And again, thank you so much. I do always want to give our career coach an opportunity to speak because we do partner on many things. And if she has any comments or questions for that too, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marshall. Thank you, Dr. Brabham. It's good to see you.
You too.
And we always appreciate your time. Listen, I wonder if you could talk just for a quick second about on-the-job training that might be available through a lot of these companies. You know, like you said, we want our students to find their passion. We want them to find what they're good at, and we want them to work right here in Auburn when they leave here.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, thinking about a wide variety of students. Some go to college, some don't go to college. But, you know, can you talk to the ones that might be looking for training inside the companies? And are there advancement opportunities for those students as well as the college-bound students?
Absolutely. The beauty of what we have in our community runs the entire gamut. So there are opportunities for internships, for as long as apprenticeships, which is just a more intense internship is how I would describe that. One of the things that I love that many of our companies do is they have tuition reimbursement. So say a student decides they want to go straight from high school and work, let's pick Rexnord. So they want to go work at Rexnord, and they start out as a level 1 machinist, and they may or may not know, have all the skills to do a job as they progress, but they have tuition reimbursement. So they might want to go get some further skills at Southern Union, and that tuition would be paid by the company. And maybe they finish that 2-year degree and they decide that, wow, you know, I really like that. And down the road, I might want to become a manufacturing engineer. The interesting part of many of our companies is they like to grow their own. So that person could gain a 2-year degree at Southern Union, and they could also go on to Auburn and become an engineer if that's what they wanted to do. But they don't have to wait to do that. They can leave high school, go to work, and let the company pay for it. Of course, they always have choices of parents or themselves paying for that. But we really love the opportunities in our area to either change careers or progress careers within a company and have that tuition and those skill sets paid for by the company. And they're willing to do that to keep that talent.
Okay, Miss Hannah, there you go. Now you're unmuted.
Yeah, it's good. Thank you, Dr. Brabham. That was exactly what I was looking for. I have known a couple of students who have worked their way through Auburn at SIO2. And so I think it's really important that students know what those options are. And also, can you speak to manufacturing as a whole? My brain wants to say that manufacturing is traditionally a man's world. Are there opportunities for females as well as males?
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Absolutely. Actually, our companies are in a recruiting mode for what we tend to call non-traditional employees, and that goes directly to what you mentioned. Manufacturing is no doubt traditionally a male-dominated field, but what we know is that females tend to have better manual dexterity. They can do things with precision a little bit differently, sometimes better. I hate to say that, but sometimes. And there's an awful lot of opportunity. What we are trying to do in our community is balance the workforce. We would love to see more females in machining and manufacturing in general. When I go into the facilities, we see a lot of that, but we don't necessarily hear about that in our classes and how we project that. I would say most of our facilities here, while we still hear it a man's world in manufacturing, I would say we are fairly balanced, about a 50-50, honestly. And we're seeing more and more of that, of more females going into manufacturing because it's a better paying job than retail, restaurant, hospitality, which is pretty traditional, female dominated. So they're learning that they can do that, do the skills required in manufacturing, and that they make a better wage.
And thank you so very much, Dr. Brabham. I know our time has pretty much summed up everything, and we certainly do appreciate your time. We know that you're out there busy doing so many things for the city, and we appreciate, again, you giving us this nugget of time today. And we hope that you will have a good afternoon. And for all of you out there joining us today, thank you for joining, and we will see you the next time.
Thank you very much.